More stakeholders galvanize efforts towards cancer awareness and prevention.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we explore the new National Broadcasting Commission reforms and activities marking the 2019 Festival of Arts and Culture in Benin City, Edo State.
Now, one major consequence of the abuse of social media and online platforms across the world is the move by governments to introduce regulations and reforms aimed at reducing the spread of harmful and fake content online.
Exactly, Kingsley. Some countries like Australia, the United Kingdom, Singapore and others have already proposed stricter regulatory oversight on social media sites and platforms in their country as part of efforts to put a stop to unrestricted online content and activities.
Well, China perhaps has the most restriction against online content in the world. Now, the country has managed to rein in its billion-plus population by deploying what is commonly referred to as the Great Firewall. Now, this blocks foreign social media platforms and imposes restrictions on politically sensitive contents on platforms within the country. Now, it appears that many countries are also now considering the Chinese method as a way of reducing the spread of hate speech, fake news, extremism, or other content that could trigger or exacerbate crisis.
You know, Kingsley, it's amazing that despite the harmful path social media has taken in Nigeria, the government is not taking the same hard stance as some Western countries. Instead, the federal government is working to license online TV and radio stations operating within the Nigerian space to provide proper focus for them and their activities.
Now, Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the licensing of web TVs and radio stations, including foreign broadcast networks and online media platforms like Netflix, which sends signals into the country.
And I believe Mr. President has also approved a review of the National Broadcasting Code to take care of many of these issues. And because of fears that these reforms might restrict media freedom, the Honorable Minister said this administration is not looking to gag the press, but rather appeal to the media to self-regulate for the sake of peace in Nigeria and the industry itself.
Of course, many African countries already have laws that require licensing for operation of online media. Now, in the case of broadcasting, isn't it important to know that the operational address and intentions of the media platforms operating in our country today are indeed at large?
And that's why a 5-member committee was inaugurated on April 10th to, among other things, recommend independence of the NBC from political interference in the exercise of its regulatory powers, particularly with respect to the issuance and withdrawal of broadcasting license. And now there is a 7 wise men and women committee to design the framework for the implementation of these recommendations, from issuance of fines to sanctions against violent content and fake news peddlers.
All right, that's right. That's an interesting perspective that we are seeing there. And just as the government is taking those steps with regard to the regulation of online media, the National Festival of Arts and Culture, NAFEST, also known as the Unity Forum, is one annual activity that brings the country together and is happening right now in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Now, the city has been agog with festivities, and the centuries-old rich culture of the people of Benin is on display for Nigerians and indeed visitors to enjoy. So, according to the Edo State Governor, that's Godwin Obaseki, who opened the festival on Monday, culture has returned home with the theme Royalty, Pride. Now, this year's NAFEST is the 32nd edition, and it's also 40 years since the inception of the week-long festival in Nigeria. NAFEST has evolved to celebrate royalty and to underscore the important roles traditional leaders play in the task of restoring the glory of Nigeria's cultural heritage. I'm sure you would have wished you were in Benin at this time, Jemai.
Believe me, Kingsley, I would have loved to be there. I would have loved to be there because I think it's with nostalgia, it's a reminder of Festac 77.
Somewhere in a sense, yeah, that's right.
We need to export who we are, how our culture is, and all the negativity about news coming out of Nigeria doesn't really make sense, but this is who we are, actually.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's an important segment of who we are.
Yes, and I'm hoping for a fantastic NAFES 2019. And so on that note, we officially welcome you to this Wednesday's edition of Good Morning Nigeria. This 23rd day of October 2019. We are reaching you live from the headquarters of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in Abuja. I am Jumoy Yusuf.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Jomai to also welcome you to the program, in the course of which we shall have newspaper review, business, and others. In the meantime, let's join Musbao Danwahab for the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Musbao.
It's a very good morning, Kingsley. Let's take a bit of the news. Nigeria's enabling business environment continues to improve as the nation's ministries, departments and agencies comply with the Ease of Doing Business Executive Order 001 of 2017. The Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, received the 2019 compliance report on the executive order.
Updating ourselves on all of these the progress that we are making with respect to the ease of doing business. So thank you very much and congratulations everyone.
I just hope that this report makes it such that you have more commitment from ministries, departments and agencies of the federal government. The idea is to have access to information, transparency. We also have our report gov. So we have there some testimonials and some good news of people that have complimented some of the work of the MDAs also. So it's an informative document. It's quite interesting, and I think everybody should take a look.
From the judiciary, a federal high court sitting in Abuja has granted a request by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, for the former chairman of the Pension Reform Tax Team, Abdulrasheed Maina, and his son, Faisal, to temporarily forfeit 22 landed properties to the federal government. The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is to establish agro-processing zones across the country in 2020. The Minister of State for the Ministry, Mariam Katagum, stated this while defending the Ministry's 2020 budget before the Senate Committee on Trade and Investment.
Another initiative is the full activation of the private sector-led 6 special economic zones that are to be located in Lekki, Eyimba, Funtua, Kano and Benue.
To strengthen your ministry and agencies, we call upon you to bring up the existing laws that need amendment for further action.
The ministry is proposing a total capital budget of 748,296,254 naira.
Kazina Windfall, Kashimbula Hydro Project. The project is expected to be completed before the end of this year. Zungiru Project, Mambila Project.
The issue of unclaimed dividend must be thoroughly dealt with by SEC and CSCS for investors' confidence and growth of the capital market.
Still at the National Assembly, the House Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values and the Ministry of Information and Culture have recommitted themselves to collaborating more towards effective, better improvements in information dissemination in the country. This was at an interactive session between the House Committee members, Minister of Information and Culture, and heads of agencies under the ministry.
This committee will oversight all agencies under its jurisdiction without any other witch hunting. The approach will also be a police patrol method, preventive in nature and not fire alarm.
The committee is actually meant to facilitate and help the ministry. That is the purpose of the committee. Even when the committee comes to do oversight, they're not coming there with the purpose of punishing anybody. They are coming there with the purpose of listening to our complaints, and where we are not doing too well, let us know. Where we are doing well, encourage us.
The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development is working on a framework that will produce a unified national social register to track beneficiaries of social investment programs. This came to the fore during an interactive session between officials of the ministry and the National Assembly Joint Committee on Social Investment and Poverty Reduction in Abuja.
Also touched on unemployed youths. So it is an ongoing program, and we hope that by the year, in 10 years' time, we'll be able to achieve Mr. President's objective of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty.
The committee is ready to give you 100% support to achieve the objective of the government of delivering to the Nigerian populace the goodies that will help reduce poverty and improve the social welfare of the country.
We are working towards achieving one goal: to make your Ministry of Poverty Alleviation, Social Investment, to make it succeed.
Away from the National Assembly, the fight against cancer is receiving an iron fist as more stakeholders are galvanizing efforts to create awareness on the prevention of this disease and with a view to ending the plight of victims. This was the focus of a meeting between the wife of Kebbi State Governor and Ministry of Women Affairs as they map out strategic ways to collaborate for effective cancer awareness.
Awareness about cancer is poor, treatment is poor, diagnosis is poor, control generally is poor. So we focus on talking about it, we focus on all the cancers.
We have this pain of losing so many loved ones and friends with cancer, and it's a responsibility of every well-meaning Nigeria to join in this campaign to fight against the scourge of cancer.
Nigeria is set to compete with technologically advanced nations in the area of science and technology in the nearest future. This is because of the exhibition of some scientific performance of students identified in the ongoing NTA ETV Science and Arts Children Expo 2019.
The project is on biogas system for household cooking. It is a source of renewable energy, which is from methane gas. Methane gas is from organic matter, from waste materials like kitchen waste.
We convert slake lime obtained as a byproduct from the manufacture of ethane that is commonly known as acetylene gas to caustic soda.
I invented a thermodynamics biogas generator. The generator is beyond generating electricity. It can be used to power other heavy equipment because it uses biogas from cow dung and then palm wine.
That's a bit of the news this morning. Join us for more in the course of a day from our different bulletins. Kinsley and Juma will be back after this break. Good morning.
The new edition of TV Guide is out, exclusively taking a look at the traditional television and new media. Are they comparable or complementary? Media industry players give perspective on the trends, progress, challenges, and the way forward. Find out on this compelling edition of TV Guide. Expository interviews with stars of the team within our space. Becky Madojemo of NTA, Utibe Umore of AIT, Nifemi Oguntai of TVC, and a host of others. TV Guide, your indispensable companion, also feature Iya Medina.
I'm the CEO, managing director of Iya Medina Sister Restaurant. I choose to serve. Shut up your mouth. Let me finish.
A TV drama series on NTA. Let's get to meet the characters behind Iya Medina. This edition also presents exciting features on tourism, culture, entertainment, sports, health, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendors near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
When I'm on nights so restless, tissue makes my days worthless. I need to recharge energy. Get a full night's sleep with Always Ultra. For stacks of tissue and no competition. For its super gel long-lasting protection. Long days, I'm fearless. Here comes the boss lady. Multitasking flawless. My kids will get the best. I'm a boss lady. Always starting now with 250 Nairas. Stay happy always.
Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit 2019 holds on the 6th to the 8th of November 2019. The summit will take place at the Banquet Hall Presidential Villa, Abuja, Nigeria. Theme: leveraging diaspora resources for economic growth. Sectors: agribusiness, education, training, healthcare, entertainment, sports, hospitality and tourism, infrastructure and real estate, manufacturing, extractive industries, telecommunications, technology and innovation, waste management and environmental remediation, transportation. For registration, visit www.ndis.gov.ng. For participation and sponsorship, please call 090-177-77008, 0817-2244-660. Convened by the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission.
History was made in Africa with the birth of the first television station, WNTV, in Ibadan, Nigeria, on October 31, 1959.
I have great pleasure in formally launching Western Nigeria television first in Africa.
Television in Africa clocked 60 this year. It's time to celebrate this remarkable achievement. Various activities are lined up: photo exhibition, a colloquium, public presentation of broadcasting books, and a gala night. Be part of these events, powered by Foundation for Ibadan Television Anniversary Celebrations, FITAC,
and supported by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
If you're just joining us, this is Good Morning Nigeria, and we are live in Abuja on the network service of the NTA. Now, federal government has opened talks with the United Kingdom over the possibility of raising Jollof bond to help finance national budget, which has been approved by the World Bank. Details of these and more on Business News with Abdul Karim Zurmi.
Nigeria's request for a $3 billion loan for the expansion of power transmission and distribution networks in the country have been approved by the World Bank, according to Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed. This is an outcome of Nigeria's participation at the annual meetings of the World Bank International Monetary Fund in Washington, D.C. The minister said a working group is being set up as the central bank would lead further discussions on the issuance. Funds to be raised from this will be used to support infrastructure financing as captured in the annual budget. And now let's head to the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With business news, Abdul Karim Zurmi.
Thank you very much, Zurmi, for the business package. Next for us is newspaper review.
Newspaper reviewer Bayo Toby is in the studio. Welcome, as usual.
Thank you, Jumai. Good morning. Good morning, Kinsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, Bayo, good to see you. All right.
Yes, today we start with the Nigerian pilot, and just below the masthead, Supreme Court justices fallible, also make mistakes. That's coming from the Chief Justice of Nigeria. You find that on page 8. Minimum wage, labor to sue states over non-compliance. You find that story on page 5. And Obono Obla wanted. That's bold headlines on the Nigerian pilot. With riders flees country, whereabouts unknown. IRP boss hunted over bribes, falsification of admission, and several petitions accusing him of abuse of office, living above income. Collection of gratification from suspects under his investigation. That's coming from the ICPC. You find that on page 8. And the picture story there, Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC board members there in the picture. And 7 persons killed in Cross River Cold War. You find that on page 9. And at the bottom plate of the Nigerian pilot, probe Senate MDA's overemployment law scandal. Sarah, that's on page 10. Looted funds, court orders temporary forfeiture of Maina Aluko's property. That's on page 5. NAV fighter jet kills 35 ISWAP terrorist fighters in Borno. You find that on page 6. Police investigate FRSC officials who beat man to death, bury corpse in shallow grave. You find that story on page 5. Nigeria received 4.9 billion global aid. That's coming from Technical Aid Corps. That's in page 4. And at the bottom plate of the Nigerian pilot, Boko Haram technically defeated. That's coming from the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed.
Let's take a look at the Daily Sun newspaper. And here, piece there beside the nameplate, South Africans renew attack on Nigerians in Jaw 4. That's on page 8 in greater detail. Lead story says, shocker in another Kaduna torture home. Police rescue 11 victims. Court orders temporary forfeiture of Mena's 23 houses to federal government. And ICPC declares Obono Obla wanted as EFCC arrests Momfa. Those are pages 5 and 6. Port Harcourt Syria women killer pleads guilty and accuses police of withholding his money and jewelry. That's on page 5 in greater detail. CBN budget rises above 1 trillion naira. Details can be found on the business section of the paper, page 2. Federal government declares emergency on Enugu Airport.
Well, let's start with the war at the court, that is anti-corruption war. There are rulings at the Lagos and Abuja court regarding the war against corruption. At Abuja Federal High Court, presided over by Justice Folashade Ogunbanjo, ordered the interim forfeiture of properties, 23 of them allegedly belonging to Abdulrashid Maina. The property are located in FCT, Kaduna, Sokoto, and Borno State. The Economic and Financial Crime sought to publish the property in the newspaper, and therefore all those who think it is theirs and should come and provide reasons why it should not be permanently forfeited to the federal government. The former chairman of the Pensions Reform Task Force, Abdulrashid Maina, is also to be arraigned on the 12-count charge of money laundering, operating fictitious bank accounts, and fraud on Friday. His son, Faisal Abdulrashid Maina, is also to be charged. At the Lagos High Court, Justice Mohammed Liman also ordered interim forfeiture of 3 landed property allegedly belonging to one Kola Aluko, an oil associate of the former minister Desiane Alison Madueke. The property at Abuja and Lagos two of them are valued at 75 million, while the third is valued at 350 million. The Economic and Financial Crime Commission deposed to an affidavit that the property are suspected to be proceeds from unlawful diversion of federal government funds. Therefore, owners have been given between yesterday and November 12th to show cause why the said property should not be forfeited. Meanwhile, the National Assembly also heard about the budget for the economic and financial crime for 2020, put at 30.92 billion. Personnel costs are to take 24.9 billion, overheads 3.6 billion, and capital was 2.32 billion. This is a little higher than what was had in 2019, which was 20 billion. Another level of the war is about the terrorism war. The combined team of 26 brigades of the Nigerian Army and 21 special armed forces working with civilian JTF, have arrested 2 commanders of Boko Haram and 14 other members of the terrorist group. A spokesman for the army, Colonel Aminu Ilyasu, says they were arrested due to intelligence and a sting operation that took place at Pulka in Goza local government area. The 2 commanders, in fact, are said to have been responsible for murdering 2 police officers, and the 3 other persons among them were responsible for providing logistics to the insurgent group. Another area of war that has been on is this report about the inmates in Zaria. Another rehabilitation center has been opened up, and they found inmates, 11 of them, that have been maltreated. They were said to have been chained at the hands and in the feet. There were actually 3 of them. One is at Liman Corner, the other is at Marama Corner in Zaria local government area. 11 inmates aged between 11 and 40 were rescued. Unfortunately, 3 of the inmates have died from prolonged torture. The operators of the homes have been arrested. 5 of them have been arrested.
No, this thing keeps just popping up all over the place.
In Kaduna State now, 2 others in Katsina, and there still could be more.
Really sad. Now moving on to the Daily Trust newspaper, just below the nameplate, MDAs and secret recruitments to cover up 9.2 billion fraud. You find that story on page 4. ICPC declares Obono Obla wanted. That's on page 4 again. And WITS outgrow 300-bed Kaduna Specialist Hospital. You find that story on page 3. And the headlines there, Nigeria's prisons remain same despite name change. With riders, facilities still congested. Inmates' welfare poor. Mode of funding not captured in 2019 budget. And website is still old. And then the picture story, just inmates wait to have their cases reviewed by the Chief Judge of Oyo State at Ogidi Prisons in Ibadan recently. That's a picture from a file photo. And at the bottom plate of the Daily Trust, Jonathan's kinsmen in Bayelsa dump PDP for APC. You find that story on page 14. Security agents raid another rehab center, arrest 4 teachers in Kaduna. That's on page 6. And court orders for forfeiture of 23 assets linked to MENA. You find that on page 12.
You recall yesterday we were discussing about anxieties about the election in Kogi and Bayelsa State.
That's correct.
Now in Kogi State, a woman says she will mobilize mothers to ensure that there is a hitch-free election in Kogi. Princess Zara Mustafa Audu says that she will sponsor women across 21 local government of Kogi State and all wards to man polling units. He says that unless the talks are not borne by women, they will wait for them unless they will come and gun down their own mothers who will be manning the polling booth. She says, the talks have mothers. I'm going to mobilize our mothers to man polling booths. And she says specifically that we cannot continue like this. And she says she wants to ensure that by using the mothers and mobilizing them, there will be peace during the voting, before and during and after the elections. So the concerns is trickling down. It is trickling down, and the anxiety is gathering like the cloud in the atmosphere, especially in Kogi and Bayelsa. And because the alarm bell has started ringing, I think all the stakeholders, particularly the political parties, have should begin to tone down on his speech and the way they mobilize their supporters.
All right, Bayo, in the absence of anything else, thank you for being around.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll get into our conversation segment.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles, They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
An award that has succeeded to pool a galaxy of stars from the north, south, east to the west, and central Africa, and also those that are domiciled beyond the shores of Africa under one roof.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
The NTA and the Village Headmaster family are pleased to announce the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the award-winning Village Headmaster television series. Monday, 28 October 2019, command performances of the Village Headmaster at the Terraculture Arena, Victoria Island, Lagos. Red carpet, 5 p.m. and live performance, 6 p.m. Tuesday, 29 October 2019 at 10 a.m. Roundtable discussion at Freedom Park, Broad Street, Lagos. Theme, Drama, a tool for national development. Join the NTA and the Village Headmaster family as we celebrate this Golden Jubilee. Attendance at both events is strictly by invitation. Announcer, Organizing Committee.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, there are ongoing reforms involving the National Broadcasting Commission, and to get into the details of those reforms with the Information and Cultural Minister, let's first take this background put together by our correspondent, Abdusalam Jibril.
The evolution of the internet and social media has undoubtedly impacted information sharing around the world and in Nigeria. This has enabled citizens create platforms, websites and blogs, as well as online forums to distribute information and share opinions. All these happen without hindrance from the Constitution or restriction from the law. However, it has engendered the proliferation of fake news and incitement of hate speech, which has increasingly become a threat to national security and unity. In Nigeria, fake news has become a menace, widely believed, and has shown that it is capable of destroying the corporate existence of the country. Towards injecting sanity into the broadcast space and stemming the tide of the growing level of fake news and hate speech, the federal government has inaugurated a 7-member National Broadcasting Commission Reform Implementation Committee. The reforms include the review of National Broadcasting Code and extant broadcasting laws to reflect stiffer penalties for violators of broadcasting regulations, and to immediately establish and publicize a new sanctioning, fines and penalty regime in line with international best practice, and to promote professionalism and serve as a deterrent to erring practitioners against misconduct, especially hate speech, violence, and spread of fake news. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Lai Mohammed, has stressed that the reforms are not meant to stifle free speech, gag anyone, or muzzle the media, but to finally put an end to all forms of monopoly detrimental to the actualization of the immense potential of the broadcast industry of Nigeria. Now, how beneficial will this be in Nigeria? How receptive have Nigerians been to the news, and what impact will these reforms have on the peace and security of the nation? These questions and more will have answers shortly on Good Morning Nigeria.
Let's now officially welcome the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, to the studio. Honorable Minister, we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
And congratulations on your reappointment as Minister.
Thank you very much.
Let's begin with the reforms. A lot of people are saying that it is long overdue. This should have been done a long time ago, maybe prior to 2015 elections, because that was when hate speech reached the highest level of destruction and disturbance in the mindset of Nigerians. So what initiated the reforms that we're going to talk about now?
I think if you remember, sometimes in 2017, we dedicated an entire National Information Council meeting on hate speech and fake news. Because even as early as then, we realized the imminent danger fake news and hate speech pose to the continued unity of Nigeria. Then later in 2018, we launched a national campaign against fake news and hate speech. And I'm glad that NTA also supported us, and they continue to support us, among other broadcast houses and newspapers. However, while that campaign has succeeded in bringing to the front burner of national discourse the issue of fake news and hate speech, it has not completely eliminated it. And the matters got worse before and during the 2019 general elections. I think the government had always said there is no attempt on its part to stifle the media or gag the media, and it sought to adopt an advocacy approach. But what happened before and during 2019 elections, especially in the broadcast industry, was quite alarming. A few, because it won't be correct to generalize, but a few broadcasting houses were quite unprofessional and very unethical in their coverage of the elections, and many of them just were raw, and unethical in their approach, and that led to the Mr. President asking for a panel to be set up to look into how can NBC actually curb the excesses of these broadcasting houses. So at the end of that, the panel was set up, and they made 26 recommendations, which were approved by Mr. President, and which, I think it was about a week ago that we actually launched the committee to implement these recommendations. The highlight of the recommendations actually include the fact that the commission must be insulated from politics. There must be no political interference, especially when the NBC is discharging its functions as a regulatory body, especially in relation to the issuance and withdrawal of broadcasting licenses. Mr. President also approved that fines relating to breaches relating to hate speech, inciting comments, and decency should be raised from the 500,000 naira that it is today to 5 million naira. And after 3 instances of a particular, broadcasting house flouting that regulation, then the license will be suspended. In addition, Mr. President also approved the licensing of web TVs and web radios, so that they can also be, under they will be able to be regulated by the commission. The panel also noticed that the NBC also doesn't have enough personnel to monitor the airwaves. They have just about 200 personnel, monitoring the airwaves. And as I speak today, we have about 1,000, radio and television houses. So the Mr. President also approved for strengthening the monitoring team of the commission. Mr. President also approved that better technology be deployed and better equipment be made available to the commission to be able to contain this menace. And finally, Mr. President also approved that the welfare package of the staff of the commission should be looked into so as to avoid cases of such personnel being compromised by unscrupulous people. And along the line also, the issue of the monopoly of the industry also came up. And part of the implementation, part of the recommendation is that we should put an end to any form of content monopoly, so that the potentials of our younger ones, their creativity, and would also be actualized. I think a good example of what break of monopoly can do to fire the economy is actually the telecoms industry. Yes, in 1992, in paper and in theory, the broadcast industry was, liberalized. But in reality today, we know that just like every part of the world, people that have the financial might and muscle cornered a chunk of the content, industry. And everywhere in the world, I think the move is to break such monopoly, because monopolies, will stunt growth, to kill creativity, and will not lead to the ability of talents to grow. So these are some of the highlights of the reforms that we launched a few days ago.
Well, thanks. But in terms of regulatory function of the NBC, what will be the nature and scope of the proposed reforms? You've just touched on one. We'll come to that. But in general, what is the proposed nature of the extent and scope of reform by the NBC?
Well, I think we will not want to second guess the committee that has been set up to implement the recommendations. But if you can see from the actual recommendations, it is to reposition the commission to better regulate the industry, especially in areas that touch on, hate speech, indecency, inciting comments, and at the same time, also position the industry, the commission, in a manner that it will be able to impartially discharge its functions, and there would be more confidence in the regulator by all the operators and the stakeholders in the industry.
I'm sure you may have read some comments already with regard to a proposal to insulate the NBC from political interference. And reference is made, for instance, to the enabling statute, and that this probably will be a big challenge for the NBC to actually get itself out of political interference. Ultimately, recommendations are made from NBC to the Minister of Information and from the Minister of Information to the President with regard to the issuance of licenses, for instance. So how is this going to work out? Is this committee on implementation that is going to generate the new ideas for reforming the laws or the operations of NBC? Over time, since 1992, when the NBC came into effect, it's been the case that almost ultimately the NBC is answerable to a political authority. So how then do you insulate it from political interference?
Well, I think that was the very first recommendation Mr. President, approved, that the commission must be truly independent, and it must not be the commission must be trusted by all stakeholders, irrespective of their political leanings, and that especially when it comes to the issuance of broadcasting licenses and the withdrawal, it must not be seen as if it's been politicized. This whole reform will also include overhauling the entire broadcasting code, and at the same time setting laws, extant laws relating to the commission would have to be amended by the National Assembly. But the idea is to have a commission that will be impartial, will be effective, and will be trusted by all and sundry.
The broadcasting world is dynamic, like you earlier said, and online, conventional media like the NTA, AIT channels and all that. And then there's the online media. A lot of stakeholders are saying it's a welcome development, but at the same time, they seem to not to understand how to define exactly what hate speech means and how it impedes on national development.
I think hate speech is clear. It's been defined as, when whatever is aimed at denigrating a particular group of people, either on the basis of their religion, sex, political opinion, or otherwise. And hate speech is very clear. And unfortunately, the world has also suffered, recently from the consequence of hate speech. If you remember, in Rwanda lost over 800,000 innocent lives to hate speech. And even here in Nigeria, but for the timely intervention of the authorities, hate speech and false news in several states had led to, unlawful killings. I still remember the case of the College of Education in Benue in Kaduna State, where from nowhere the news was, spreading that they were killing Christian students. And before you knew it, there were reprisals until the government until the authorities of the school came out to say no, there was actually no killings of any sort. We also saw what happened, variously in Kaduna State and, and other places. You see, hate speech has this capacity to exploit our fault lines. And because of the impact and the immediacy of the broadcast industry, is probably more effective than any other thing. And unfortunately, the thing about fake news is that nobody ever stops to even, interrogate the fake news that is being spread. Everybody just panics, and before you know it, there are killings everywhere. There are burning of houses. So it's a serious, danger to our unity.
Well, I would like to return again to aspects of the reform, particularly with regard to the implementation committee, which you set up probably a fortnight or so ago. In terms of the powers of the commission to license and then impose specific fees for licensing. I'm sure some months ago you read about the complaints by private broadcasters with regard to what they claimed was the discriminatory licensing fee regime being operated by the NBC. Is this one of the issues that will be looked into? Because they claim that, I mean, look, if you're asking them to pay so much money for licensing fees, and whereas public broadcasters don't pay the same, where then do they get funds, to run their operations, create jobs, and then be a going concern?
I'm not aware that there's discriminatory fees, for the industry, based on whether you are a private or you are a public broadcaster. I'm not aware. What I'm aware of is that some of the private broadcasters probably complain that yes, they owe money, but the public broadcasters also owe money. And I think that argument to me is neither here nor there. The fact that the public broadcasters also owe money is no excuse for the private broadcasters not to pay whatever they owe. But even then, we will try and strive in the when these recommendations come to ensure there's a level playing ground for everybody, whether you are a private broadcaster or you are a private broadcaster. But the challenges that the Commission has to do more with monitoring and more with implementation. And the fact that even when licenses are granted and people are giving the guidelines as to the type of equipment they should bring, you see many of them flouting it. Somebody will bring in a 10 kilowatt equipment when it's supposed to just operate within a city or a state. And these are all the issues that the committee will look into, so that by the time they come up, we are going to have a holistic reform of the industry. But like you said, and I agree with you, this technology is expanding and exploding every day. So we must also wake up and every day try and meet the challenges of the industry.
How do you envisage the regulation of online broadcast outlets, web radio, web TV? Because you and I know, you can sit down here and tune to virtually any station around the world now. So is that likely to be a tricky undertaking?
Actually, we're waiting for the outcome of the implementation committee. And that is why we chose people who are both professionals and and people who are very well versed in the industry to be members of the committee that will do the implementation. So we want to sit down here and second guess what they are going to bring. But we know it's a challenge, but we believe that the committee is up to it.
I'm asking this, Honorable Minister, because Manpower Challenges already informed Mr. President's approval of some of the recommendations for engagement of new staff and purchase of equipment. So where will the control lie, or rather, where will the regulation lie? Will it be with the NBC or with the NCC, or with NIDA or Ministry of Communications? Because it isn't just that they are on the airwaves; they are also in cyberspace. So, is this likely to be an area that will require interagency cooperation and collaboration? Because, as you very well know, it's information out there is plentiful, and the modalities for getting the information out is also manifold. So, is this, again, I ask the question, is this likely to be a tricky area for us to deal with?
It will be challenging, but I think we would cooperate and work with all the relevant ministries and departments and agencies such as NILDA, the NCC, and even the Ministry of Communication, and that is how it works all over the world. Because there's a very thin line between what the NCC does and what and the NBC. So there will be collaboration, and synergy between all these different MDAs.
You know, back again to the issue of content, Jumain.
Yes.
Honorable Minister, you met with online publishers in Lagos over the weekend. What was your takeaway from that interaction, particularly with regard to harmful content, which is ultimately the major concern?
You see, when we met with the online publishers, we kept telling them that if they don't self-regulate, they will self-destruct. Yes, there is freedom of speech. The government is not about to stifle the media. The government is not about to take away their freedom. But that everywhere in the world, including even the UK and Singapore, daily governments are getting more and more worried about the harmful effects of fake news, especially as disseminated via online, social media. And the UK today is proposing a law to handle and deal with this menace. Singapore already has passed its own law to do so. And you can see increasingly, even developed economies, developed countries are getting more and more worried about this. And this is our message to the online publishers, that they should self-regulate. Otherwise, they will self-destruct. And you see, no government will sit idly and watch the entire environment being, engulfed by fake news and hate speech, especially given the, potential of such of fake news and hate speech, which we define as the Siamese twins of evil to destroy its country. So the warning out there that they should self-regulate.
That was your message to them.
Yes, sir.
What did you take away from that? I'm asking this question advisedly, because you very well know there are often generous references to Chapter 4 of the Constitution, yes, freedom of expression and the freedom of the press, and then people also, not minding the jurisdiction, tend to lean on the U.S. First Amendment. Yeah. So, what message did you take away from this? That, look, there are special circumstances.
You see, my takeaway from them is that they believe that the genuine online publishers will not indulge in fake news or hate speech because they fully understand the implication. But that there's many rogue, online publishers who don't even belong to their own associations, and who they have little or no power over. And this is, I think, where the challenge for government comes, and society itself. How do we confront the menace of this rogue online publisher? Because the mainline on publishers, we talk to them, we interact with them. When we started our campaign last year, they were one of our very first organizations stakeholders to speak to. But daily, you see this kind of infraction, even among those who are supposed to be major online publishers. But you see, fake news come in various ways. There are some fake news that, unless you read the contents, you do not know that they are fake news. But they are fake news, because all you need to see, just one paragraph in a 20-paragraph story could make the entire story fake news, because that one single paragraph could change the entire tone of the story. So yes, there's the challenge. We'll continue to meet them, but like I keep saying, if they do not self-regulate, they self-destroy, and they would. No government, I keep saying this, this is a threat. No government will sit by and see some irresponsible people try to destroy the country by, preaching, hatred, by, becoming merchants of fake news. So the warning is there that they risk serious repercussion if they do not self-regulate.
The human mind is always hungry for information, and sensationalizing the news is what broadcasting is all about, to get viewership and readership and all that. So coming back to the reform, how can you're saying, okay, we're giving independence to the NBC, and then how can we, in a way, change the perception of Nigerians looking at the NBC as a toothless bulldog?
Well, I think by the time we start by the time the committee comes out with the recommendation, I think that perception of NBC being a toothless bulldog will change completely. And it's not it's not a threat, because we will implement those recommendations.
That's lovely.
But Honourable Minister, let's return to one other aspect we talked about with regard to the reforms, and that has to do with content monopoly. How does content monopoly manifest in the broadcast industry today?
Well, you see, content monopoly manifests in the industry today when some concerns some industries. I mean, some companies, some organizations.
Name names.
I would rather not name names. You see, have the financial, muscle to have monopolistic rights over contents, be it sports, be it entertainment, to the exclusion of others. Now, you see, we call it unfair competition. And everywhere in the world, the tendency is to break such monopoly and make this content available to all. Otherwise, you will continue to have just, number one, there will be no growth. Number two, you'll not be able to help the talented, ones to actualize their dreams. And then, at the end of the day, it is the nation that will suffer. So we need to make sure there's a level playing ground for all when it comes to content. So that's why we want to break the content monopoly.
I'm sure our viewers have a sense of what you're talking about. But some persons might also argue that the part of the content monopoly is founded on rights, broadcast rights acquired from the generators of the events, for instance. But then the argument also follows that okay, because certain entities have the financial muscle, they could strive to outbid local participants who ordinarily would like to acquire such rights. But that ultimately these rights reside elsewhere, and that you have to bid for those rights to get them, and then now be in a position to broadcast. So if you don't make it freely available to all, you dilute, as it were, the marketing imperative, which is also in all of this. How do you respond to this?
You see, there can be anything called completely free market. There must be regulations. And just like we're talking about the NBC, for instance, of course there's freedom of expression. Why are we saying that certain things are indecent or certain things are obnoxious and they should not be broadcast? Now what we are saying is that there must be a fine balance between the free economy and at the same time national interest. And we, as far as the government is concerned, our first responsibility is to Nigerians, it's to our youth, it's to entrepreneurs. So if the laws will not work against national development, will work against social inclusion, then we must do something about it.
Is there a nexus between breaking content monopoly and digital switchover in terms of content providers and channel providers?
You see, the digital switchover will actually, in its own right, further make, further democratize the content industry. because with the digital switchover today, when we complete the switchover, it becomes cheaper, for instance, to have access to content. At the same time, with the DSO, what we can do today with your set box and the technology, it will be so will radicalize and revolutionize the entire industry. So that will help in its own way. But we're talking about the content monopoly in terms of the kind of rights you spoke about. The government is interested in diluting and breaking that monopoly for national interest.
I hope you get Ministry of Justice to also be involved in it, because there are antitrust issues, as you mentioned.
Yes, I can assure you. On the committee also, we also have, Ministry of Justice representative on that implementation committee.
In the committee?
Yes.
All right. Now, we have a number of tweets that have come in from our viewers on this subject matter with the Minister of Information speaking on the proposed reforms at the National Broadcasting Commission, one, and then the broadcast industry in general, incorporating at this time web TV and web radio. Omogbala Hambabs has this tweet. Now, with the rising population of 200 million, and still counting, no number of radio or TV stations will be too many. However, their operations must be regulated to ensure strict adherence to professional ethics. Now, those who relish fake and sensational news reportage must be sanctioned.
And Opikuma Augustine tweets, care should be taken in regulating the media so that we don't cut off our nose in a bid to smooth our face.
Prosper, that's the handle. Information access and use is important in the digital age. Now, what type of technology can the government deploy to curb issues of hate speech and citizens' desire to access and use information?
And Comrade Alhaji Ngala tweets, NBC is a regulatory body that have power to sanction any broadcasting house or network service that spread fake news or violate government rules and regulations.
Sheila, better late than never. The reform was long overdue, but good it's finally begun. It's quite unfortunate our news tabloids, print and electronic, have over time thrown caution to the winds and have engaged in fake journalism.
And Francis Obi tweets, the NBC reforms is coming at the right time to checkmate the excess of those that feel they can use it to perpetrate or fight back unconstitutionally.
All right, so those are some of the tweets that we are taking in the meantime. But, Honorable Minister, I mean, let's back up again and then get into the reforms at the NBC. And we've had cause to also discuss this with guests on Good Morning Nigeria. What, in your opinion, has been one of the major challenges facing the NBC with regard to getting into line, airing stations on live broadcasts, particularly radio, and the kind of things that you get to hear when you have listeners who are phoning in and what they are saying? What has been the major challenge with it? It's just like, the airwaves are free, say what you like, and then you get going.
Now, I think one of the major challenges they're facing is that the broadcasting code today and the extant laws today are too weak to contain the menace. I'll give you an example. Until this approval by Mr. President, no matter the amount of hate speech or fake news that a station puts out, this sanction was only $500,000 naira, and he could pay that $500,000 naira 100 times without losing his license. Now, so what most stations do is they take adverts and they disseminate, information that are divisive, capable of setting one part of the country against the other. And they now ask the advertiser, look, this thing costs 2 million, but you are going to pay 3 million because we know we are going to be fined. Now, with the new, so when they take 3 million and the NBC comes, and after a lot of argument, they are fined 500,000. They've still made a profit of 500,000 extra from the normal even advert they've paid. Just for example. But today, with the 5 million fine, it will become difficult for any station to say, okay, this advert actually costs 1 million, but bring 6 million now, because we might have to pay a fine. So that's why we believe that steep penalty is going to work. Two, the fact that after 3 strikes, your license will be suspended, I think is also very important. Again, you can see that we were also mindful of the fact that 1,000 airwaves, 1,000 stations, radio and television, 24 hours sometimes or 12 hours, is difficult to be manned by just 200 people. And that is why we want to fortify and strengthen the monitoring unit of the NBC. That will also work. Then, I believe that the deployment of technology would help also in monitoring. So I believe that by the time the committee comes up with its recommendations and we start implementing, the NBC will be in a better position to cope this menace.
All right. It's on that note we'd like to thank the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, who's been with us talking about the proposed reforms in the broadcast industry, incorporating, of course, web TV and web radio. We hope that the implementation committee that you set up a couple of weeks ago will also factor in the right of a broadcaster who believes that let me use it now as a pronoun, has been treated unfairly by the commission. In other words, there has to be a recourse, assuming the broadcaster feels that the commission has been heavy-handed in imposing sanctions, so that it isn't just a one-way traffic, and then there's no perception of an attempt to muzzle any of the segment of the broadcast industry. Hate speech and extreme content are matters that, of course, will be within the purview of the ongoing reforms.
I think the professional broadcaster has nothing to fear from this recommendation. On the contrary, I think he has a lot to gain from it. Only anarchists and unpatriotic Nigerians would oppose these recommendations. It's actually because we want a country where we can all live in harmony and peace, because we have seen what hate speech has done to some other countries. And in Nigeria in particular, where we have multiple values, multiple religions, multiple languages, I think we need to control and monitor very well our airwaves.
All right. Thank you very much, Lai Mohammed, Information Minister, for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria today. Okay, it's Good Morning Nigeria still on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we're talking NAFES. That's the cultural festival taking place right now in Benin City, the capital of Edo State.
Boy, climb this thing now. No be only to connect lights.
Come you and yourself now.
Now wow. Oh boy, calm down now. Oga Kasali electrician, who would they look for with this?
Oh.
Oga Kasali, come help us fix this wire now.
Sorry. I no longer carry out illegal connection. It puts the lives of people at risk and can cause fire outbreak and disrupt power supply. I will never be part of anything that has to do with this any longer, because change begins with me.
Oh boy, what you mean talk makes sense. Oh boy, we could carry this ladder from
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Thanks for rejoining us. Now, before we go straight into our second conversation this morning on the ongoing Festival of Arts and Culture in Benin City, the Edo State capital, let's take this report from our correspondent, Hamis Urogo, who is on ground in the ancient city.
When Nigerians gather to celebrate what unites them of culture, the whole world stands to pay respect. Nigeria's rich cultural heritage is a masterstroke of human civilization. The story remains how to properly handle those culture for greater national glory. It is a major concern as the National Council for Arts and Culture bring the whole country to Benin to again collectively realign and think how best our culture can take us to the gate of heaven.
The sun is shining again in Benin, and it is shining bright. It is the narrative. But then there is a new storyline. The whole of Nigeria is coming together in Benin to reassert the position of culture in elevating the humanity of Nigerians, in transforming the land to be a unique and outstanding nation, and how culture can generate employment.
Yes, the engagement is a picture of breathtaking dance displays across all states. What a lovely nation. We are colorful, musical, lively, and just happy in our rich diversity. Within this are the costume displays, the drama, the human stories, all engaging, all thought-provoking, all stories of evolution of a unique entity called Nigeria. Critical issues are brought to bear on the festival as well. Key in the theme of the get-together, our royalty, our pride.
What we were doing before was academic, cultural celebration, NAFES, etc. Now we are taking it to the people, right with the people, because it's for the people, and the people are the ones to showcase it. So the Oba will be coming out in his regalia, in his reality, to receive the entire 36 states of this country, right here at the palace. It is. And not only that, the Oba is a great personality. He has even accepted to tee off the first ever 100% cultural golf tournament, which will happen first in Benin. Everybody on the course will wear Nigerian fabric.
Away from the dance and the drama also, there is a concern by the organizers on how to make culture and art sectors drivers of self-reliance through wealth creation and skill development.
It's not about dancing or beating drum. It's about impacting on the people. If a whole central bank will come out and bring up 22 billion for creative industry, it's to tell a story that a change has come to this sector.
Yes, this year's NAFES has some significant presences too. For obvious reasons, states of Borno and Yobe have not been in NAFES since 2012 in the Ilorin. They are here in Benin now. A big story on how culturally aligns people and how Borno and Yobe are enjoying peace and restoration of cultural activities.
All right, we have with us in the Abuja studios Chike Oswago, who is a tourism development expert. Chike, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
And also joining us via Skype from Benin, it's Otumba Olusegun Rishenwe, who is Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture. You saw him a while ago in the.
He'll be joining us.
Well, we understand the signals are poor from where Shegun is. He would have joined us on this conversation. Let's bring in Chike Oswago. Tell us something. What's your impression of NAFES? This is the 40th year and the 32nd edition. What does it do to us?
Thank you very much. NAFES is actually a means of showcasing our cultural and arts offerings in Nigeria, and it's lasted for about 40 years now. And this year's event is being held in Benin, the nerve center of culture in Nigeria. So it's an opportunity for us to showcase Nigeria and what we have to offer the world.
Well, what, in your opinion, and having seen a number of NAFEST activities in the past, do you think we have the proper linkage between the NAFEST and tourism itself, whether local or that targeting foreign tourists?
Definitely we have, because it's an opportunity to take people from the 36 states of the Federation to different parts of Nigeria at various times in the period of promoting this event. I remember sometime it was held in Ogun State, later it was in Lagos State, and some other states. Every state has an opportunity of hosting this event. Now, the promotions is what we have to look at, whereby is it possible to get many people from other parts of Nigeria to participate at this event. It's not just for a particular state, but from people from various states, even the adjoining states, to come and witness these events. It's really a grand a way to promote Nigeria from the culture and arts perspective. And Otumba has been at the center of this all. Even when he was in tourism development, he had always done this very well. Now that he has taken up the position to manage culture and arts, taking it to Benin, and I believe the next one should be in another state that has so much to offer Nigeria. So I think it's an opportunity for tourism to grow in Nigeria.
Okay, we'll be now joining Honorable Otumba Olusegun in Benin, and I believe our Skype is clearer now. Let's talk about the unifying factor of the NAFEST Festival and the objectives it was established on. Has it been living up to its objectives so far?
Well, thank you very much for asking this question at this time. We should realize that NAFEST is the festival that unites the nation, bringing all the states together to celebrate and show our strengths culturally. For a very long time, it was a bit academic, but now we've taken NAFEST to the people, for the people, and the people to celebrate. However, we need to get something clear. We need to tell our story ourselves as a people. The era of allowing other people to speak for us must stop. We must use what is our strength to show what can bring us together. To me, what we saw in Benin, Edo State, it's a statement of fact that we don't need to disagree among ourselves because our cultural value is strong enough to unite us as a people. I must thank my colleague over there for his comments. But for instance, in Benin now, we have over 500,000 visitors and tourists. And for the people, if we get this sector right, a lot of vices in our society will give way. This sector employs the highest number of labor all over the world today. What are we doing with it? So I'm happy that a lot of state governments are now seeing what NAFEST can do in terms of creating jobs, opportunity, and reducing unemployment among us as a people. I must also stress this fact here today. We must understand that every country in the world takes its culture and its agriculture as a strong point of uniting the people. Culture is like a tree keeping people together. Without culture, it's like no leaves on them. So I'm appealing that we should understand that if we connect well with this sector, it will be better, and Nigeria will be a greater country for all of us to be. Thank you very much.
Well, still with you, Otumba Segun Orunshewe. From your point of view, what has been unique about this year's NAFEST in Benin? Yesterday was day 2, and today, obviously, will be day 3.
You see, we have the skill acquisition, waste to wealth. That means it's not about dancing or beating drums alone. We're empowering the people. We are training today in Benin over 2,000 youths, women, in different skills. That is one. Yesterday, something happened that Nigerians need to know. A woman who baked akara, frying akara, sent 2 of her children to university. Appeared. Only yesterday we found out the youngest photographer in Africa is in Benin. So it's an opportunity to unfold the best among our people, particularly the ordinary people among us. They have an opportunity to come out and tell us what they can offer. So for us, we see NAFES as a platform of giving opportunity to every Nigerian to make the best of their time. We must also take note that NAFES started in 1970 after the Civil War. And our elders and our leaders then said, what can reconstruct the pains of yesterday? What can bring us together? There were only 2 products, culture and sports. And we've used sports for so long. Culture is now the new platform of uniting us. We have over 29 states in Edo State. A guy came in from Jigawa yesterday. He's never been to the southern part of Nigeria, where he has read so many stories. So we unite, come together, focus, and see how we can live in peace. To me, this is one country Almighty God really loves. Why can't we take advantage of this peaceful coexistence to strengthen our relationship and unity among ourselves as a country?
With you, your theme for this year is our royalty, our pride. And some people say it's a homecoming for the festival being hosted by Edo State, a place that has culture that has withstood time for more than 1,000 years. So what does it mean to NIFEST?
Well, you see, in Edo State, royalty is a big institution. The Oba is highly respected, a revered Oba of the people. So we believe that royalty is one aspect of us as a people we need to showcase and tell our story to the whole world. And Oba of Benin, the Oba Koloko, Oba Esepahe, is one great Oba that have come to tenaciously embrace culture as part of what unites people over there. Also, His Excellency, the governor of Edo State, came up in full support of bringing his people together. Now, for over a week, all you are hearing, all you are seeing about Edo State is the positive side of our great country. So the time has come, we must take what is strong in our society that can showcase the best to the whole world. Take, for instance, when we talk of the SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat, and talking of Nigerian strengths, are bound to build a better Nigerian and a great Nigerian. We have things like traditional wrestling, children's quiz, children's drama, and so many others. IO game. Of course, these are local things.
Okay, Otumba Segun Orunshewe, there's a freeze there of your connection. We hope we're able to clear that up. I'm sure that we will return to you in the course of this conversation. Chike Oswago, back again. You know, obviously from what he has explained and from some of the NAFEST activities that one had also witnessed here in the Federal Capital Territory, it isn't all just about dancing. You have an amalgam of other events, as you said, the children's quiz, you know, skill acquisition, and so on and so forth. What does this add, from your perspective, to the essence of a cultural festival?
Basically, a festival is an opportunity to showcase whatever you have. Artifacts, arts and crafts, dances, cuisine, clothing, even attitudes. In some places, I remember a particular situation where in an Asian country, we had an opportunity of meeting a traditional ruler who has a PhD in English language. But he did not speak to us in English. He had to talk through an interpreter. And that was part of the cultural things surrounding their culture, that their traditional ruler should not speak in a foreign language when he's speaking to foreigners. That's one of the things we're talking about here. So a festival like this brings together some of these things and showcases it. But it has to be promoted properly so that the nation and even people from outside the nation would understand that this is an opportunity to showcase. I keep emphasizing this word showcase, and then promote, market. These are things that we need to do systematically and strategically so that we can benefit from our cultural endowments.
What is wrong now with promotion of events like this?
We need so much resources to promote these things. A lot of emphasis has to be placed on tourism, culture, and arts. A lot of funds have to be diverted to promoting culture and arts, and square pegs in square holes have to be put to make sure that these things are done well. Otumba mentioned practical tourism, practical culture promotion. It's no more textbook management. It is doing it practically. We have so much to promote to the world, but we are lacking in so many places in terms of people buying into this idea of promoting our culture. I give you an example. I had a project somewhere, one of the Southern Africa countries, and I noticed that a particular province had all the school uniforms were made from local clothing, local materials, just like we have our own Ankara and we have our own batik and adire. Their school uniform of all the students were, I thought it was just for one particular day, but when we went to various cities in that province, we found out that all the schools are mandated the children are mandated to wear those clothing for their school as their school uniforms. And it was a way to promote their own endowments, their own economy, and their own cultural endowments, let me put it that way. So we need to devote more time, more energy, more funds, and every other resource to promoting this. And researchers have to go back home. What are those things that we have that are not being promoted very well? How do we promote them? Then we have to bring it to policy and make it a part of our policy to make sure that these things are enhanced.
You know, culture is the way of people, and it's a unifying factor in Nigeria. With so many negative stories coming out of this country, culture has brought us together, like in NIFEST, to portray the positivity of Nigerians as lovable, happy people. So how, after NIFEST, what happens when we go back home? Do we continue to work on, you know, trying to unify ourselves, make friends across board, people coming from Jigawa to people coming from Enugu? You make lifetime friends there. So how can we use it as a unifying factor to maintain the tempo?
Thank you. We have a lot of government agencies that should assist the people to understand these things. We have the National Orientation Agency. I think one of the reasons why that agency was formed, and it's incidentally, it was part of the Ministry of Culture and Tourism. I don't know if it's still part of Ministry of
Culture and It's information and culture.
It's information and culture. Yes, I know. I'm saying I don't know if it's still part of that now.
Yes,
Beautiful.
it is, yes.
Now, that agency and the National Center for Arts and Culture, and then the Tourism Development Corporation, and other agencies need to have some sort of interagency collaboration so that we go to parts of this country and promote some of these things that we believe we can use to unify ourselves. And then we promote things that bring us together instead of things that divide us. So the National Orientation Agency needs to champion this cause. The Ministry of Education also has to play their own role. In the school curriculum, some of these things need to be put in place. We also need to look at the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. They have to come in here to see how people from the diaspora can get involved in some of the things we are doing locally here that they are not doing out there, and then see how it's all about cooperation and coordination between the agencies of government and also the private sector. And there are a lot of investment opportunities. You see, somewhere in one of the countries I visited, they were going to a particular event and they said, you people like your music, you don't like other people's music. I said, well, we like your music, but incidentally, our music is so exciting that even your people enjoy it. So our music is well sought after, our movies well sought after. I think ours is the third in the world now, Nollywood, from Hollywood to Bollywood, and then we have our Nollywood. And some other people are copying us. And whenever you go out of Nigeria, people ask you, did you bring this, did you bring that? Because of what they see. Yeah. So this is an opportunity to promote our country in the light of the negative vibes that come out of Nigeria. We need to promote the ones that are so positive, and we need to emphasize on those ones.
Talking about the opening music, the opening ceremony with Victor Owafo, it was nostalgic, you know. Wonderful. A lot of people watched just because of him.
Definitely.
This is something we can export.
Yes.
He has not gone on tour for a very long time, I believe.
Yes. Dan Mariah Jos, Victor Owafo, Victor Olaiya, all those ancient music
it's timeless, masters. Not ancient.
Well, thank you. Timeless. Yes. Masters, sometime in the future, the ones that we're listening to now will become timeless. Yes. But the commonality amongst all this is that they are all Nigerians. And nobody discriminates when it comes to music, when it comes to things like this. When we want to become Nigerians, we need to emphasize on those things that bring us together.
All right. Thank you very much, Chike. Let's try and get back to Tumba Olusegun Rushewe in Benin via Skype. Chike here with us at the studios has talked about the need to ramp up the promotion of NAFES. We know that you've also done some work in that area, but what is it that, I asked the question earlier, what is it that is unique about NAFES 2019? Do you have a number of corporate sponsors? Do you have others who have also thrown their hearts into the ring in support of what NAFES is all about?
Well, Kisley, thank you very much. I think charity must begin at home. See the way you are dressed, truly as a Nigerian, culturally. See Fatima, what she's putting on. We are proud, dressed as Nigerians. But in most cases, when we invite some people out, you will see them putting on suits in hot sun, celebrating other people's culture. So to me, I must thank the NTA family for showcasing the culture of Nigeria. Secondly, we've got a lot of support for NAFES. A lot of Edolites from abroad came in just for NAFES. That's to tell you that it's a strong brand which we must come to celebrate. And let me share something with my dear friend Chike. Tourism is about marketing and promotion. The brand content you need to develop is the cultural content of every country in the world. The brand content is what we call the cultural content. Now, if you have the right cultural content at the right place, at the right time, and the product going out for marketing and promotion with the right price, then you are good to go. But in most cases, we lack packaging, which NCAC is now helping a lot of the stakeholders to come up with the right packaged product, so it will be easier for tourism to market and promote. If not that, we'll be going to market with the wrong product at the wrong time. So NAFES is like hosting the World Cup. And when you are going to the World Cup, you have to have the right venue, the right marketing tool, the right product, and of course, to be part of your product, which fighting to maintain our culture. Yes, Kisley, if EFCC is fighting economic corruption, of course, we have to fight the social and cultural corruption. We don't want to understand quickly that cultural corruption could be very dangerous to the society. Cultural corruption comes before economic. So NAFES is a platform to showcase all this, bring all Nigerians together, and prepare our youth for tomorrow, to tell them that we have a future we must protect, we must defend, and tenaciously embrace. So to me, the benefit in NAFES, it's awesome that we are preparing our own younger ones, the youth, for a bigger and a better Nigerian for the future, which is NAFES' story we are going to continue telling.
Thank you very much, Segun Rushawe. I mean, part of a festival like this, as Chike reminded us, also has to do with the cuisine that is available. I hope that the patrons at the various stands have had a rich display of Nigeria's cuisine, particularly also from the hosts. I don't want to get into details now.
No, which one in particular?
No. Let Segun tell us what he has seen.
I will come to see that Edo State have a lot to offer. But something unique happened yesterday. I stopped all small chops to become now akara and fried yam. You see, if we don't support our own, believe in our own, you want to have a cultural event and you are serving sausage, you are serving egg dry bones. Where do you leave the local people in? We have to empower them. Like I said, the woman that sent 2 of her child to university by frying akara, I also wish she can send them for masters. So she's now the official akara fryer for NAFES. And we can take her from places. This is a new product we just came up with. So our own is to promote indigenous, to promote what is our own. Like what we saw, you can see me putting on the Benin beads, everything. I'm proudly a Benin prince too now. I mean, the beauty of it all is for you to be proud of your own people and be proud of what you come from. So we must be proud of who we are to make a statement. I am strongly protesting for those who go for cultural program and putting on suits, putting on tie. Where will our tailors make money? And Kisley and Fatima, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, we are going to be playing golf with traditional attires in Benin. And the Oba of Benin, the Oba Kolokolo, Oba Otokwaye has accepted to tee it up for us. So these are all about us. These are all about Nigeria and what we can offer to make Nigeria a better place for all of us. Thank you.
All right. Otumba Olusegun Rushawe, I have 2 assignments for you. One, I'm going to give you the official title of the Oba of Benin so that you rehearse it properly. You've said it twice, but you tended to have mixed it up. It's Omonoba Nedo, Ukwa Polopolo, Oba Eware II No Gidigan.
No, good to go.
So play this back and then you get that. Otumba Olusegun Rishewe, thank you very much for being with us. Second assignment is this, part of the culture. And I would like town planners, regional planners to note this point. There is probably no city better planned than Benin City in the whole of Nigeria, if not the whole of Africa. When the Portuguese first arrived there in the 15th century, that was one of their earliest surprises. Olusegun Rishewe, thank you for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria today, and enjoy the rest of NAFEST. Okay, so let's return to our studios here. Chike Oswago, your thoughts before we call it a day.
Fine. What I can take from what Otumba said, and I've always mentioned it at various discussion sessions, is we need to properly package our offerings to the world. Everywhere in the world now, you see Chinese food, Chinese restaurants. It's because the Chinese people packaged it, presented it to the world, and everybody now is excited about it. So some restaurants, some Nigerian, talking about cuisine now, when you go to some Nigerian restaurants, you do not feel excited because of the way things are presented. We need to properly package our food very well so that other people can enjoy it. There is nothing wrong with our food, there is nothing wrong with our cuisine, but we need to present it in a way that others would appreciate it. Even the chili is so exciting when you present it very well to people. Also, our dress codes, there are things that we need to do. Bikinis can be made with our fabrics. Some designers now make suits out of our fabrics. Then at international events, we need to showcase our cultural dances. No, if we go and use other people's cultural music and others, we are downplaying ours. We need to promote ours at cultural events outside Nigeria, promote it. So it comes down to having more resources devoted to all these agencies and even the private sector to promote our culture and arts. That's the way tourism people will know about us, and that's when they can come.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. I mean, in terms of our cuisine, packaging our cuisine, and that would be a challenge to those who are in that sector to pick up and say, hey, listen, this is what we should begin to showcase. And I was quite pleased with what Segun Rishewe said in terms of small chops. I mean, why would you be circulating or serving rather fish roll at a national festival, cultural festival?
We have our small chops here.
We also have our small chop. And akara, of course, akara is a major thing. That akara is healthier. It's not made from flour. It's made from beans, actually. And beans is pretty healthy.
We're even talking of only akara. There's so much up north here that are made from, is it dawa, or cocoa, gari, bobo gari,
like during our
weddings,
yes, in Borno State, we don't use small chops.
Yes,
we don't use foreign, we use traditional.
When we say small chops, it seems as if it's the flour thing. Yes. No, small chops can be African, Nigerian small chops. There's so much we can do with ours.
Yeah, that's right. So let's get the views from our viewers via tweets. Chris Simeon. NAFEST 2019 is a welcome event. It's an avenue where people, mostly the youth, discover their talents and acquire skills that should help them in future.
And on Mogwalahan Barb Street, NAFEST is expected to promote our country's heritage, cultures and historical artifacts. It is expected to showcase a country with diverse and heterogeneous people, but with one common index, unity. However, over time, this unity is continually shaken on the altar of politics and religion.
Dele Jack Solomon, the federal government and the Edo state government should be commended for hosting the 32nd edition of the festival. Let's use NAFEST 29 as a means to further unite Nigerians and promote a highly rich, multi-ethnic unique and multicultural traditions.
And Mark Anyako tweets, the ongoing NAFEST is a welcome development. Despite rich heritage of ours, we are not leveraging on them for potential benefits. Many countries of the world, for example, Brazil, make a lot of money from their culture, which earn forex for them. Foreign tourists can be attracted in our country if we fully utilize these potentials of ours.
Law Alpha said, NAFEST should be able to raise the standards of our culture, which champions modesty and discipline.
And Steve Bond, 007 tweets, we hope that NAFEST will rejuvenate the law for our own culture, traditions, and pride.
All right, those are the tweets that we can take in the meantime. On that note, we'd like to also thank Chike Oswago, a tourism development expert who's been with us in this segment of the conversation. Chike, thanks a lot for being around.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Let's go on now to our sports desk.